Hello friends! In this video I will show you how to make a simple modding system for your games. If you'd like to have a modding system, you want to make possible load extra content, new objects, new enemies from mods from external files, so players can easily install, remove and modify them. Here, in my example, I have 3 objects. The first one is from core mod, which is part of the game, and 2 other objects are from stuff mode, which is external and I can disable it or enable. So you can see that those objects are not appear again. Moreover, if I will remove the stuff mode from file system and restart the game, this mod will not appear in the mod list and objects are not loaded. So I created a project which has a following structure. So it has a folder core, which has a sprite named Word, and there will be a folder with mods. So our mod, which called like stuff mod, will have 2 additional weapons, and this mod will be disabled or enabled by player. Let's start from creating a new scene, 2D scene, and we will create a weapon viewer, let's say weapon class, which will show the different weapons. So it will has sprite 2D. So let's put a sword sprite here, and it won't be centered. In addition to sprite, there will be description of our weapon. For this, I choose rich text label. So let's create it, move it down, and so now there will be generic format for the input. So there will be something like name, too small, okay. There will be name, description, and damage. And actually name will be placeholder, then will be description, also with a placeholder, and damage will be the range. So in total we will have 4 placeholders. I will expand this, and also I want to zoom our sprite 4 times or maybe 5. Okay. And then let's make our in 4 nicer. So I use this rich text label, which allows me to modify text in different way. So the name will be, for example, it will be with orange color. So I can put like color equals to orange. Then I have to close this tag like flash color. Orange. Okay, so you can see it change the color. Also, it will be bold. So I can place B here and close this tag. Also, I'd like to make this description also bold, but description text will be just standard. And the damage will be bold. And also I'd like to paint damage with red color. All right. Also, I can see that by zooming the sprite, it looks a little bit blurry. So I go to our root node, the weapon, go to the texture field, and here we can find filter property. So I can choose nearest, and both nodes, like all the nodes in the tree, change this filter property. So because if I press, for example, the sprite 2D and open texture, I see like repeat inherit. So it inherit this property from its parent, which is weapon. So setting this property once here, I can change it for both rich text and sprite. Let's see. Okay, so we should save the scene. Okay, so that's how info card for our weapon will look like. Now I'd like to change this 0, 1, 2, 3 to with attributes. So I will add the new script. So it will have class name, weapon, I will create a variable, so export var weapon name. Will be like sword white. Export var weapon description. And the damage. Damage mean integer, which will be, I don't know, 15. Export var weapon damage max int 27. Let's create a function which will modify the text of which text label and update all placeholders. Update text. But like if we will call this update text multiple times, we need to keep unformatted text. So I will have var formatted text. And on ready function, I will set the unformatted text as a rich text label dot text. And now on update text, this rich label text will be equal to unformatted text dot format. So now I will just replace those placeholders with our variables. So it will be array, weapon name, weapon description, weapon damage mean, weapon damage max. So now what I have to do is to call update text on ready. Now let's test. And we can see that all the placeholders obtain their value. I want to do same for texture as well. So I will add one more export, but it will be export file. with a filter on any PNG picture, and weapon icon string will be empty for now. So here on ready, I now want to update the image as well. Var image load from file, and here I will load it from weapon icon. So we load the image, and now our sprite 2D texture will be image texture, read from image. We use our image now, and let's discard the texture, and let's see that it should be empty now. Okay, it's empty. And now if I will put the file sword1 to this field weapon icon and test this in, okay, we can see that image has been loaded. Let's make weapon browser. I'm going to create new user interface. Scene will be weapon browser. Save it. Actually, I want to change its type. Let's make panel container, and I'm going to add a vertical box container. The top part of it will be info card for weapon, and the bottom part will be buttons to navigate over weapons. So I'll create a control node, and I will create another container, which horizontal box container, and it will have 2 buttons. So it will be previous, it will be next. This containers looks huge. I'm going to change its size. I need to expand the buttons. And I want to expand horizontally this control node. And child of this control node will be weapon. Still too big. Maybe this size will be good enough. And you can see if I change size, automatically adopts the position of buttons and their size. If you want to know more about those containers and UI stuff, please let me know through comments. If we test it, what we'll see, yeah, it's fine, but I don't want this info card to be in the left top corner. I want to make some shift. I'll create a new 2D mode, node 2D, and make a weapon child of it. So if I will have more weapons, I don't need to change position of each of them. I need to change position only on this node 2D. Okay, maybe let's leave more space for description. And let's create another weapon. It will be weapon 2, and just to see it's different, I will put stuff image here. Stuff of fire. And let's put some random numbers here. Yeah, we have two weapons now in our browser, but they are shown simultaneously. The idea is that weapon 2 will be invisible, weapon 1 would be visible, and by pressing previous next, I will navigate over it. Let's have a script for weapon browser. I need to have a ready items array of all items. For now, it's predefined, but later on we will make filling of it automatically. And we need a variable to remember which item is the current item ID will be 0. I will make a function, and if you change the current item ID, you can change current item. This will be item ID. This function needs to go over container, over array of all weapons, and make their invisible, and only on new item ID should make it visible. Or item in items, item visible will be false. Items item ID. Oh, actually, we maybe don't need this item ID because we have this current item ID. Will be true. Also, I'd like to check that current item ID is within the range. So I will put the assert. Current item ID is greater or equal 0, and current item ID less than item's size. And now I need to connect signals from those buttons to navigate over item ID. I want to rename them first. Item pref, button pref, and button next. Okay. I need to connect the signals from those buttons. And change the current item ID and call this function. So current item ID when it's pref like -1, then I need to loop this. If current item ID is less than 0, then current item ID equals to item size -1, current item ID +1. If current item ID more than item size, more or equal, then current item ID equals 0. Also, I need to call this change current item. Let's test. And yep, we can see that we can navigate over those two items. which is fine for now. Now I want to switch to the modding part. The overall idea is that our objects will have their description. For our sword, just an example, I will create a new resource, which will be, you can find a lot of resources, resource types, and it will be JSON. It will be weapons, and I need to select JSON extension. So note it should be not TRES or RES or any other, it should be JSON. In this case, it will be JSON is quite standard format, so it can be extendable and your players can easily read and work with those files. So I will have this weapons JSON file. And this file will contain description of the weapons. Note that within the core folder, I'm going to have a weapons which are, say, in vanilla game, will be embedded in your game. And in addition, there could be config files, same files in your modes. But now let's focus on core part. So it will be, so this JSON will contain like object, it will be name or like string ID. So note that this name will not be human readable name, or it will not be shown in the game. It will be just an ID for the engine to identify objects and distinguish objects. It will be sword of might. It should be single string. I will not use spaces. And here will be description of this object. It will be image or image. We can just drag and drop it. No, we can't. Okay, so word.png name. You can just copy paste from here. Description. Damage. It will be also object. Which will have two subfields like minimum damage and maximum damage. This is our in-game object. Example on how it will be described. You may have more fields or more complex structure or different types of objects, whatever. So I will just show this example using weapons, library of weapons, but it could be any type of object. And now I want to have a class which will work with JSON files. So I'm going to create a new scene. It will be basic scene, so it will inherit a node and we'll name it like config. I will create a script class name config extend the node. This class will allow to it has a global script class. Okay, so let's rename it probably to JSON config. Let's rename it here as well. This class will have two methods, two functions. One will validate the JSON, and another will load the data and provide the data to the user of this class. Let's put validate JSON file name string, and it will return error code. How it will act? First thing you need to do is to load the file. JSON as file, file access, open. Yeah, file access open. JSON file name, read. Now I want to check if this file successfully opened or not. Maybe it doesn't exist. So I need to check it by, okay, so if we are going to return the error, I want to have a variable, like error code. Maybe, no, let's do it here. File access, get open error. So it works in the following way. It tries to open the file. If there is no error, the content on the file will be here. And then you can check the error of the last open call by this command, this function get open error. If there is no error code equals to OK, which means like no error, we can parse this file. Let's create new JSON object. New JSON parse. JSON as file. Error code equals to this parse. And what is remaining is to return error code. So if our JSON is correct, validate will return OK. Otherwise, there will be some error code. Second function will be getConfig, JSON file name, and it will return the dictionary. Actually, to avoid the copy-paste of all this code, I'm going to have a little trick. We'll create a new variable, JSON cache. It will be dictionary, it will be empty. And here, once JSON is parsed, actually, even in the beginning of this function, I'm going to reset JSON cache. So it will be equal to empty object. And only after parsing, if error code equals to OK again, we check that error code is OK for file access, and now we check it for JSON parsing. If it's OK, then JSON cache will be equal to JSON data. We still return error code, but inside the JSON cache, we will have the all JSON data if it's loaded. And inside this getConfig, we do validate, and we return JSON cache. So if you call getConfig without validating, the result will be this file is correct or cannot be opened. The result will be empty dictionary, and only if it's okay, you will have a content of the JSON file. Okay, so this class will have those two methods. And now I will create a new scene. It will be also based on node. It will be handler base. We'll have a script, class name, handler base. This handler base is an abstract class to every object which will be loaded with your modding system. So it will have a couple variables. One is a object class. Object class. It's a type of object which will be loaded by this handler. And second is JSON configuration file name. Here is export file with a filter, any JSON file. Okay, so let's add this object class a little bit later, just to avoid the parsing error. So what this handler base will be able to do? We'll have a function load config. So it will, so one thing which I forgot to mention, that the overall structure of our modding system will be following. There will be JSON config, which will have as a child's different handlers, like handler of all weapons. And inside the handler, there will be, let's say, types, which will correspond to every weapon type. So every type of of object will represent a single record here. So because we have several swords, sword types, for each of them there will be different class object. So you will see it a little bit later. But the idea is that when this load config is called, handler base has a JSON config as a parent. So we can do following, like variable JSON config typed in JSON config. It will be just get parent. Now we want to have data. We take JSON config and get. Already forgot what's the name. Get config. Okay. And we use JSON config file name. Now we iterate over this data for type in data, type name. Because when we iterate over dictionary, we iterate over the keys of dictionary. For type name in data, for every type name, we want to create new, and now we actually, we need export variable object type. Will be packed in. Now we can put new here. Object. Okay, let's call it just object. Object time instantiate. Let's put a name to this object. Name equals type name. Then we will need to call some method from this object to actually parse the data. Load from data. And we put data type name. And now add child. So it should work. But the missing one is object type. Let's create a new scene. Inheriting from the node. And it will be class base. I will attach script to this as well. Class name, class base. And I need to define this load from data method. Function load from data dictionary. And here, because this class is a basic, is a base, is not supposed to be instantiated, I will put like assert false with an error message like this abstract class not supposed to be created. Okay, we have class base, we have a handler base, which we can load from config. And now I want to create new inherited scene. As a base, I will choose this class base. The name will be class weapon. Okay, Godot just crashed. It's happened. So I stopped that I was going to extend the script. Will be class weapon, class name, class weapon, which then the class base. I need to override this load from data. And this class weapon will have several variables. Actually, they will be exactly same as in our weapon class. So I can just copy paste, but I can remove all the export flags and default values as well. By the way, I want to do the same in weapon. I mean, I want to remove all default values. And now, idea is to parse the data and fulfill the variables. Weapon icon will be data. What was the name of our image? Okay, so we have some mismatch between those fields and and those variables names, but that's fine. Actually, doesn't matter much. Weapon name, weapon description, data description, weapon damage mean, data damage mean. Important thing here, if we want to parse integers, by default Godot parse them as float numbers. So I want to convert them manually. Do the same for max. Okay, so after doing this, I will have all those variables fulfilled. And I want to create another function, which will be create weapon. So I will create weapon from this class, and it will return a weapon. Var weapon will be weapon. Well, not quite right. So we need to have a the scene name. So it's gonna be variable weapon scene preload weapon instantiate and return this. But before returning, we need to fill all the weapon icon, Yeah, just assign all variables. The only missing here is that here we have this update text and update everything on ready, which is not actually what we want because ready will be triggered here. And only after that we assign all variables. So I'm going to create a new function in weapon and initialize. And all this stuff should be done here. Oh, maybe I have a better idea. Actually, what I can do, I can look into my signals and we can find a signal tree entered, which will be emitted when node enters the tree. I can keep unformatted text initializing here on ready, but the rest of the code will be on tree entered. Why it may help? Because here we instantiated, but it's not added to the scene, right? So we didn't add a child. We just create the instance and return it with all the variables assigned to it. I have to, I will remove those items first of all, so it will be empty. And I need add a child node, actually not instantiate child scene. And as a child, I will put JSON config. In our JSON config, I will instantiate a child scene handler base. and I will rename it right here, handler weapons, and I can assign the fields, the properties in inspector. Class weapon as an object time, and weapons as a JSON config file name. So now in object browser, I want to have a ready, and I'm going to have one ready var weapon root weapons root node. It will be node 2D. By the way, those two weapons I will delete as well. We don't need them here, so weapon browser is completely empty. Okay, now in our engine there is nothing about like sword or anything. All information contained here in our JSON file. Then in weapon browser on ready, I want to read the JSON configuration and fulfill the items. On ready, JSON config. I will remind that it has a handler weapon as a child. So I will take it node, handler weapons. And now I want to load all objects. Instead of doing this inside the weapon browser, I will do it directly in handler base. Here I will just call load config, returning to my weapon browser for weapon in handler weapon type. Actually, weapon type in handler weapons, kill children, because classes will become children of the handler. Weapon type. It's I will call this create weapon. And I need to add this as a child for weapon root node. Add child, create weapon. Well, let's do it a little bit differently. Create a variable for newbie created weapon. Add a child, and also I need to add this into items. Items append weapon. Let's test. Can it convert argument 1 from object to string? And it's something wrong with our JSON file. Get as text. JSON as string. JSON as file get as text, and now let's do this. Also, we need to do this only if error code is okay. Well, it doesn't work for some reason. Let's find out what happened. First of all, we need to check if this load config called and what is inside. We can see that data is successfully loaded, so our JSON is in red, and object is created. And even create weapon. All right. So I think that the reason of this is that we didn't call change current item. So we need to check if items is not empty, and in this case, call change current item. Removing breakpoints. Still having an issue. Let's take a look on our scene after all of those manipulations. So in JSON config, we have handler, weapons, and inside we have a class word of might with all parameters successfully loaded. And here we have a weapon which is even visible. Maybe the thing is this that this event has been called before already. So I think we can easily check it. Now, yeah, we can see that object has been loaded from JSON. The only thing is the image which is not loaded is because here we have a image from like not the full name. So I think we need to do res core word 1. Now it's loaded. All right. Now I want to load additional weapons from mod. So we will have this stuff mod, which can be like any, and I want to parse the mods folder for any kind of mod and load the data from it. To do that, I will use our class JSON config to parse all the modes in directories. Actually, it would be nice to rename it from JSON config to like mod config, which I probably gonna do. It will become now like mod config. And class name will be mod config as well. And I want to rename it mod config. And here we will use mod config as well. And now I want to encapsulate all the logic to work with the modes inside this mod config. So I will have a mod list dictionary, which will contain information about all mods. I will create a data structure for them. Class mod will be quite simple. It will have a directory to have a flag is enabled, because for any mod we should be able to enable or disable it. It will be enabled by default. And the last one is core, is false by default. So its core should be true only for one mode, which would be like the core mode. Next step is on ready. I'm going to parse a mods folder for mod in dir access get directories add will be res this folder actually. For each directory inside the mods folder, which is considered as mod, I will like mod name with mod name. Now will be var mod. Oh, okay. So mod list mod equal to mod.new. And I'm going to set the directory, which will be mods plus mod plus additional slash in there. Two other variables should stay with their default values. And also I want in the beginning to add a core mod. Mod list core mod new core directory. I need this because it has a special directory. Mod list core equals to true. So this flag will be used to prohibit user to disable this mod. After all modes are loaded, once we use getConfig, now we just don't want to use a file name, but we want to take the data from all modes. So for mode in mode list, if mode list is enabled, we do this directory plus JSON file name. And we assembled JSON will be empty in the beginning. And now I want to add the new entries from the parsed JSON file. So for entry in JSON cache, assemble JSON entry equals to JSON cache entry. And I'm going to return an assembled JSON. The thing that now I cannot use a full file name in our export file, so I will use just export json config file name, and here is in handler weapons I will have just weapons.json. Let's see if not gone wasn't broken. So it got broken. Why is it? Because it's empty. And maybe it's because radio of weapon browser was called after the radio of JSON config. Or I mean before. Yeah, I think that was a point. So maybe I have to trigger this not on ready, but on tree entered in JSON config. Sorry, in mod config. By the way, do not make it like worse. I want just to reinstance this again. Okay, and what we are going to do, maybe tree entered will help. Let's do this on tree entered instead of ready. Let's see which one is called earlier. Yeah, on tree entered first and then ready. JSON config, yeah. Okay, so it's not broken. And what we expect is that I can add additional weapons in this mod. So create new resource, JSON file, weapons.json inside our stuff mod. I will copy paste from core, but it will be like stuff one. Let's put the name. For now, mods, stuff mod, stuff one. That's something we are going to fix. We don't want to use the absolute path. We are going to use just image name. We will do this a little bit later. It will be wooden stuff, simple magic stuff. Will be some random values. And we are going to add one more object, stuff2, magic stuff, okay. Poison stuff. Will be more powerful. You can see that all those are loaded. Now let's get rid of absolute path inside the mods because it's not how it's going to be work. So we can just leave the image name, which will be related the mode pass. And same for core mode. Obviously, for now, it will not work. Yeah, we can see that images are not loaded because those images are missing from engine perspective. To load them properly, we need to bypass somehow information about the directory where mod is located. Inside the mode config, when we do this loading, I'm going to do some trick. When the entry is loaded, inside assembles json entry, I want to create additional field. It will be mode pass, and it will be this mode dot directory. So now every entry will have the directory from which it is loaded. And when I go to handler base, oh no, not in handler base, but in weapon class here, so we know that data image is a file name. So I want data mode pass plus data image. And now it works perfectly. The last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make simple mod manager, allowing players to enable and disable mods. First of all, I need to make a mod config a singleton object. So I don't want it to belong like to weapon browser because I want to any object to have access to mod config. So I will delete this node from weapon browser, and I will go to project settings, autoload tab. I will select mod config scene, name it mod config global, and here in the weapon browser, as we don't have mod config anymore, it will be mod config global. Let's check if it still works. Hey, it is. Now I'm going to create a new scene. User interface. Actually, it will be as a type. So it will be vertical container, which will contain like every row will be separate row. Mod manager. Save it. Now each entry will be horizontal container. Mod entry. You know what? Probably I will change the type to panel container to have a background, and we'll add a vertical container as a child of it. And mod entry will be child of this container. And every entry should have two nodes, check button. So to enable or disable mod, and label mod name. Okay, so that will be mod enable toggler mod name. This mod entry I will save as a separate scene. Now let's remove and create script for mod manager. Function ready for mod name in mod config global mod list. So we take the mod list, and now for every mod we'll create a new entry. Var entry scene reload mod entry equals mod entry scene instantiate entry get node. We have to take both of them. Enable toggler and mod name. Enable toggler, we need to set pressed. So basically, probably I want to take a look the documentation. Base button, set pressed no signal. I think that's what we need, because we don't want to send a toggled signal every time. Not every time, but on the beginning. But we want to do this later. And set pressed no signal should be based on maybe var mod equals to mod list mod name, and then mod dot is enabled, and here is text equals to mod name. Now vertical box container add child entry. Let's check the scene. Okay, we can find that both modes are loaded. Of course, this toggling does nothing, which we are going to fix. To do this, I need to connect the signal from mod entry, from enable toggler, to actually update the mod config. So I will create a method in mod config. It will be set mod enabled. It will be is enabled boolean, and mod name string is enabled bool. So for now, what I'm going to do, mod list mod name is enabled equals to is enabled. But in addition to this, I need to update the all information. I mean, yeah, here, like once getConfig has been called, we already tested like is enabled, and we need to emit kind of signal to notify all handlers that something got changed. signal mod list changed. And here emit signal mod list changed. The next step is in mod entry. We have this like toggled. So I'm going to create a script for mod entry and connect the script. Connect the toggled event with the script. Mod global set mod enabled. As a mod name, we will take mod name.text toggled on. And I want to make sure that once we start the game, not this one, mod manager. Yeah, it's not triggered, but if I change, it will go to the mod global and signal will be emitted. Okay, so let's connect all together. We'll create a new scene, user interface, main scene. And main scene will have two scenes. First is like mod manager, and second is web and browser. I will do something like this. And this main scene where did I save it? I will set it as main. Now let's see. Okay, those three are loaded. Now once I disable or enable, it should be reloaded. So I go to web and browser again. And going to create a new function, update weapons. Basically, I'd like to copy paste everything from ready, but in addition to this, I need to remove everything which has been created before. So I need items clear and weapon type in weapon in handler. Weapon? No, not this one. For weapon in basically in items, right? So because items are our nodes, I don't need this weapon u3. And now items clear. On ready, we change this code with update weapons to avoid copy paste. Let's check if it still works. Okay, works perfectly. Then for weapon handler, or actually not in even like weapon handler, but in base class, handler base, I want to create a new method. Okay, maybe I don't need it. Yeah, I need. Because in load config, we adding those childs. We need to clean them first. Remove child. Okay, maybe not remove child, but for child in get children, child free. Let's test again. Works. So for every handler, I want to reload those configs on the event on changing the mode. So set mode enabled before emitting the signal. So I understand that I can just subscribe to this signal, but we may have an issues with order, like which items are receiving this event, like this signal before other. So the simplest way will be for handler in get children, handler load config. So it will be simply loaded. And in weapon browser, we are going to update weapon also on mod config, mod list change it. So here we have ready, mod global, mod list change it, connect, update weapons. But before testing it, I need to do a couple more things. I have to use free here because I want this to be executed immediately, not on the end of this function. And in addition, we have to reset current item ID be equal to 0. And I have to do same in their base. Now, if I will run it and disable the mode, okay, so now I have only one object enabled, more objects appeared. The last thing is to make impossible to disable a core mode. I can do this very simple. I need to go to mod entry. No, I think to mod manager, yep. And here, if mod is core, then disabled equals to true. And we can see that it's impossible to disable core mode. Okay, that's it. If you like this tutorial, please place a like to this video and subscribe for more.